Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Can I get a thumbs up? Yes. So, welcome to this online oneness gathering. So, let's take a moment in silence so everyone can join the meeting room and also the live stream on YouTube. So, again, welcome, everyone. And I'm grateful for you to invest this Sunday afternoon in this online experience and for doing this work. So, in my spiritual seeking journey, the most powerful happenings have come from the topic we will be sharing about today. All the beautiful qualities we want to experience in this reality as a human being, things like peace, flow state, love, happiness, compassion, inner freedom, oneness, they've all come from stripping away of this artificial sense of self, this illusion of who we believe to be, this contracted, separate beings trying to control the environment with frustration, fear, and many more forms of suffering as a result. So, what we will be sharing is the direct solution to all these seeming like problems. It's unlifting the veil and inviting you to experience who you truly are and seeing through this matrix of reality and of the small artificial self. So, enough said, this online gathering and many more to come, including a powerful live retreat in February 2026, which I will be providing more information of in the end of this online meeting, is a collaboration of me, Christopher J. Smith, and Ray van Straten, persons who I hold very dear and I'm grateful for to do this work with. So before I hand over the mic to Christopher, I will pass it over to Ray, my friend. So Ray,
Yes,
if you can turn on the mic, it's all
yes.
yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Okay. Welcome all. My name is Ray, joined by my friends Christopher and Mike. These gatherings came about quite spontaneously as a way to share insights and engage in discussions about these various subjects. Our sincere hope is that these gatherings will be helpful on your life journey or provide a sense of confirmation. We wish you all a pleasant gathering in oneness. And to start, I'll be reading a fragment from the Gospel of Mary. The Savior said, all nature, all formations, all creatures exist in and with one another, and they will be resolved again into their own roots. For nature of matter is resolved into the roots of its own nature alone. One who has ears to hear, let him hear. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks. So let's start off this first online oneness gathering. So Christopher, I'll hand over the mic to you. It's all yours. Christopher, if you're there, you just have to turn on your camera and the mic. Let me just check the settings. You should be able to turn everything on right now. Yes.
Okay. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, good to be with everyone. Hope everyone is well. Thank you to Mike and Ray. Very, very happy to be here. So these meetings are a response. They are a response to so much of the fragmentation that we see, the division, the separations that appear to be rising in the world. And actually, the way I see it is that this is because so many more beings are starting to tune in to the oneness. And so as people tune into the oneness, you get the opposite effect. So it can seem like there's sort of these two extremes taking place. But these meetings are a reminder and really a sort of invitation to recognize the totality, the oneness. Now, oneness, we'll go more into that later on, but often oneness, there is the idea of many things that are connected. And on the appearance level, that would seem to be the case. But there is a deeper recognition of oneness to literally see that there is only the one. And that all seeming division is really just a kind of mirage of the one. And so really, these meetings are an invitation to recognize, to see through that mirage, and to, you could say, return to the oneness that already is. It's interesting when we look at the things that are taking place in the world at the moment. These are the appearances happening within the collective sort of story of humankind. And one thing that caught my attention this week, particularly, in fact, in the last couple of days, is this whole story between actually the Dalai Lama, Buddhism, and what's happening with China. And I see this as a kind of like a microcosm of the macrocosm. You've got this kind of battle of authority, if you will. You have China that wants to decide who the next Dalai Lama will be, and then you have the tradition that wants to decide. And I think many people can see that there's this kind of polarization going on in the world, where you have many governments that are maybe adopting more of the sort of creeping towards a kind of totalitarian state or way of being. And so what seems to be happening in the collective is that there's a lot of rebellion taking place, a lot of rebellion against authority. And to me, this is really what's happening, is that it's actually a pull back to the oneness, which you could say in a way is the only true authority. Back to that natural intelligence, that wholeness. And this is not something that is a separate thing from that body or any body. It includes everything. So in a global awakening sense, everything is pointing back to the return back to oneness. And this is what these oneness gatherings seem to be about. It's a response, it's a call to that. And no one is doing it. This is something that is happening. It's an energetic thing. There's a resonance. And when that resonance is listened to, it always brings one back into the wholeness, the completeness of itself. So well-being is something that can help to increase the energy and bring a little bit of clarity, a little bit of comfort, a little bit of relaxation, really an openness to this oneness. When it comes to liberation, there is no path to liberation. There is no method to liberation. It's a recognition that happens for no one. It is not a personal recognition. It is in some way the absence of a separate self in which it is then obvious that there is only one. But well-being, working with certain well-being methods maybe, or just having good well-being, seems to help to bring a kind of openness and more energy to become open to this oneness. And so what I'd like to do is invite everybody just into some very simple, we're keeping it very, very simple techniques, you could say, to allow that openness to happen. And the most basic foundational thing is to return back to the breath. The breath is something that is always happening. Who is breathing is a good question. Who is breathing? Are you breathing, or is breathing happening by itself? The whole body, there is some intelligence that is functioning the whole body. The body is breathing by itself, the heart is beating, the blood is pumping. But sometimes the breath, it goes unnoticed because it's such a normal, constant functioning that sometimes it is completely unnoticed. So just to return back, to notice the breath and to breathe fully can reinvigorate, can bring more energy, more openness. So I invite you to come back to the breath. And there are many techniques that can be done. The thing with a technique is that when you get that in your mind, you think it has to be done in a certain way. You have to practice it at a certain time. Very quickly, a technique can become very dualistic in nature, because you say, I can only breathe in a certain situation, at a certain time, in a certain place. When of course, really the breath is happening all the time. It is with you all the time. In this very moment right now, if you are sat or standing or laying down, whichever it may be, of course, the breath is happening. So can you go with that breath? Can you allow a full breath? And so the invitation is, in this moment right now, can you allow a full breath to come in and to just hold that breath for a few seconds in a very natural way? And then to allow the breath to move out in a very natural way. And as the breath moves out, just to let the breath be held out for a few seconds. And once again, then to breathe in. And to breathe out. It's like the wave, right? It's like the movement of the ocean, the tide going in, the tide going out. And just bringing the attention to the breath, you might notice that the energy starts to become more localized, centered. And so again, breathing in, holding, breathing out. This is a way of retaining the breath. When the breath is retained, the oxygen, the life force energy within the breath can begin to circulate, move through the whole body, oxygenating the brain, every cell. And naturally leads to a greater sense of well-being. You might find some clarity, maybe more centeredness, focusedness, groundedness. This can be done with eyes open, eyes closed. There doesn't necessarily have to be any kind of rules to it, because the breath is just happening regardless. There doesn't have to be too much manipulation, just very simple. Holding the breath, letting the breath out. And so what I want to invite you into is something that I call the breath of stillness, in which as you breathe in and you hold the breath, you retain the breath. In that moment of holding the breath very gently, in a very relaxed way, you feel the whole sensation of the body, almost like feeling one complete sensation. And so I invite you to breathe in. And as you breathe in and hold, very gently hold, relax, and feel the whole body. The feet, the hands, the sensation of sitting. And that feeling will bring a kind of stillness. Of course, stillness means the opposite of motion. Mind is moving, energy is moving. For many people, it's going in so many different directions. So as you breathe in and you feel the whole body, there is an opportunity where it stops. There is a stillness, a calmness. So once again, breathing in, holding very gently, relaxing the body, and feeling the whole body as one sensation. Stillness. And then again, breathing out in a very natural way. And just gently repeating this, riding the wave of the breath when you feel to breathe, breathing in, holding gently and becoming very still. Not moving the body, not moving the mind. And naturally breathing out. Once again, breathing in. Holding, relaxing, being still. Breathing out. And you might notice in this stillness, there is more of a grounded sense, feeling more grounded. keeping it very natural, very simple. Once again, breathing in, holding the breath, being still, body still, mind still. And breathing out. And so as you have moved from the breath to the stillness of the breath, give permission to relax. Relax the body, relax the mind, let go of past thoughts, future thoughts, judgments of this moment. And just relax into this, to this very instant. Whether the eyes are open or eyes are closed, it makes no difference. The body is simply here. And so I invite you to relax deeper and deeper. Relaxing the whole body, the feet, the calves, the thighs, the core of the body, the chest, the back. Taking a breath in, breathing out, relaxing even more deeply. Relaxing the shoulders, the neck, all the muscles in the face, the top of the head, and the back of the head. Relaxing into this instant. And to relax any thoughts, any thinking, just for this instant. Give away all the thoughts. Body relaxed, mind relaxed. Very simply just resting. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to become, just for this instant. Total rest. And so life is really a mixture of rest and movement, stillness and motion. And so you can rest in either. And so as you are resting, relaxed, allow an openness to be open, to be receptive to this immediacy, the immediacy of the totality of the oneness. That is not in a particular place, but is all that appears to be taking place. But what I will do is I will give an introduction now to oneness, if it is even possible. That's the first impossibility, is that it cannot be described, it is unspeakable, cannot really be defined. So what can happen in these meetings and this kind of discussion of oneness is that something can begin to loosen up. Really, there are only two sort of realities, if we can say that. There is the natural way of things, the totality, all that is and isn't appearing. So that includes a laptop, a phone, a body, a sky, a sun, a sound, an emotion, a sensation, a thought. All that is appearing to take place, all phenomena, is the natural reality, the natural way of things. It is the totality. And this totality is actually hollow. This totality is empty. It's non-physical. It's nothing. It's insubstantial. But it appears to be substantial. It appears to be full. It appears to be something. It appears to be physical. It appears to be a form. But the form is really empty. All forms are empty. So this oneness, which of course just means one, so it means not two. So it means that there's no separation. No separation. If there is two, then that is separation. That is duality. So oneness points to a single nature. To say that the totality is just one, like one vast infinite ocean. And it appears as what seems to be many different forms, but really those many forms are just actually one nature. Just in the same way that there can be many waves in the ocean, but really there are no waves, there is just the ocean itself that is taking on the appearance, the image of a particular wave. So when there is no separation, that means also there is no lack. So in the natural way of things, natural reality, there is no lack. No separation, no lack. So that means everything is already fulfilled. Everything is already complete. Everything is already whole. There is nothing lacking. Everything is already enough. And this totality is impersonal because there is no separate person that is really in the totality. There is only really the illusion of a person. And so this is the other so-called reality, which is really just a dream, a hallucination. So you have the natural reality, the totality, and then you've got within that like a bubble of experience, an illusory bubble of experience, which is of being a separate person that is moving in separation, that is separate, and everything seems to be separate, that feels as though there is some lack, that it's lacking something, that feels as though everything is personal, and feels as though it is a controller and decider of what is happening, that it is like a doer, that it can do this, that it can do that. It claims ownership for what the totality is doing. It claims ownership of what the totality is happening. And so in that experience of separation of this, what I call the artificial self, this bubble of experience, it feels as though it's moving through time, past, present, future. And it's trying to seek something more and attain something more because it feels it's lacking something. And also because it feels that it's separate, it's trying to protect itself. So in that sense of separation comes fear. In that sense of lack comes attachment, dependency, identification, association with what seems to be limited. So it has fear and it has desire. Desire to become more, to have more, to achieve more, and fear to protect itself. And so these are born out of the illusion of itself. It's really a mirage, it's really a fiction, it's really a phantom. So what's being said is that there is no solid center or self. That this artificial self is really an illusion. But even though there is really no self, there can be a sense of a self, a sense of a center, a sense of separation. Out of the natural way of things, the totality, it can play as anything. It is like infinite energy that can play as anything. So it can play as what seems to be a finite, a more condensed form. And so what happens is, it seems in every body, a sense of separation develops, a sense of localization, a more condensed energy. And this sense is then misperceived to be an actual solid self. It's misperceived to be separation. It's misperceived that there is lack. Misperceived that there is actual personal control and doership. And that there is actual time.
Hi, Christoph.
When really this is completely timeless. The oneness is completely timeless. Totally timeless. And so in that illusion, there can be many ups and downs. It's a dualistic experience, highs and lows, ups and downs, suffering, unhappiness, constant sense of trying to get somewhere as if something is missing, or to become something more, get something more. And so then the oneness, the totality, is like sort of completely out of the picture, because this artificial self just exists within its own bubble. And this has become very, very normal. You could say that there are billions of these bubbles of a separate sense of experience. But in the natural reality, it's not an experience. Because experience is only within the structure of that separate sense of energy and the complex identity that gets associated with that. So what happens is that society and culture encourages this belief and this sense of separation, this sense of self. And so you have a whole society that is based on it and that only reinforces and fortifies it and strengthens it. And so it can actually feel like a real solid sense of separation, not just an idea, not just a belief, but an actual sense of it. And that is like energetic in nature. So these are the two sort of realities that are taking place. And so in this meeting, what can happen is as we expose the artificial self, the mirage of that, the illusion of that, as we discuss that, point to that, and point to the mystery of oneness, which cannot ultimately be known, cannot be understood, is unspeakable, is indescribable. What might happen is that there can be a loosening of this artificial sense of self. It's like a tight screw, and that screw can start to loosen up. And what may happen, what can happen, is that there is a kind of energetic shift that takes place where that artificial sense of self is no more. It seems that what happens is that there are many kinds of, like a temporary moment, a temporary instant of seeing no self. Sometimes this is referred to as a glimpse. So sometimes spiritual seekers, they have a glimpse of no self. But then what happens, it comes back, and then this separate sense of self comes back into play very quickly. And then what can happen is in an awakening, there's this kind of oscillation, a constant movement between a solid sense of self and no self. And it kind of seems to go in and out of that. And then in liberation, this is where that whole sense of self is no more. There is some recognition, not a personal recognition, there is some recognition that it does not exist, that it is a total illusion, and that it never actually existed, that it was always just a mirage. And so in that, it is no more. This is liberation. Really, it's an energetic shift. So in these kinds of meetings, these kind of gatherings, this is what could happen. A loosening. Firstly, an opening to this communication, to this message. Then, potentially, a loosening of that sense of self, maybe a glimpse, maybe an awakening, or even potentially a whole energetic shift to liberation. And in that recognition, it's actually seeing that everything is already free and has always been free. And that this sense of self was really just a dream all along. Just like somebody dreaming at night thinking that the dream was real and that they were real in the dream, or there was a real character in the dream, and then waking up from that dream and seeing that it was a total illusion. And so this is what we can discuss in this meeting together. And so I open it up to anybody that would like to ask any question or share or have a discussion, dialogue about this. What can happen as well is that there can be moments of silence where nothing feels to come, or there can be a resonance where it feels like something needs to come. So I will open it up now to anybody. I'll let Mike take the reins of this.
Yes, thanks, Christopher. So let's so if you look at the controls of the screen, you have a button with a hand. Let's use that so we have an overview of whoever wants to ask or discuss something, and you just press the button. I saw Jorrit wanted to ask a question, so yeah, put on your mic. Let me know what your
Mike, I put on the mic.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Christopher. It becomes more clearer, and it resonates with my feeling in my position right now in the timeline. I write especially poems, and I must say I'm proud of it because it's my soul is speaking, and I want to share that a lot with people, of course, because the last poems I wrote about getting whole, getting one, wholeness and getting one, and with the aspect in the time which we are feeling from the universe, I feel that I'm in resonance with the frequencies of one, being whole, and that's a very special feeling. Maybe the first feeling I've had ever since I was born, because all my work I've done to overcome to getting where I'm now, and that's that I'm one, because I overwon 3 traumas, because they were necessary to open and to get in the light, to get where I'm now. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jorrit. So are there people that want to ask a question about what we discussed for so far? Just let me know.
Again, if I'm allowed.
Just a moment. Let's let Bouke ask a question first, and then Bouke.
Hi, it was just a part of me, and I was curious if somebody of you also has experience with it, because I've gone through a lot of experience in the Christianity with the belief, and also with God, of course. And what I learned, I see a lot of common things, like spirituality and believing in in God. But I think that a lot of people nowadays don't understand the right way to believe in God. So something I learned there is that when we can learn to live in trust and in flow, and the life will unfold of us, so God will show us what is best for us. And is it common with the study we have here? Do you understand my question?
No, sorry, I don't understand the question.
No,
Is it also that you rely on something bigger than us, like God, the universe? I think it's like, come on, a little bit.
sorry, so what are you asking? Are you asking, what are you asking? Do you rely on God? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and what you are doing, is it like the same, that like relying on something bigger than yourself, you know?
Right. Okay. Yes, I see what you're saying now. Okay. Yeah. No, not at all. No, because
Okay.
that is a separation there. So the sense that there is some higher power creates a division, creates a separation. What's being said in terms of oneness, of course, being one, it's saying that all that seems to be taking place in this very instant, that what you might see as the most mundane thing, like a desk, is the totality.
Okay.
That is the totality. That body is the totality. A thought that comes is the totality. An emotion, a feeling is the totality. Everything. Silence as well as motion.
I see.
That's all the totality. So most religious ideas, they are dualistic in nature, because there is some higher power and you are separate from that power. There is a you that is separate from that. And so what's being said in this is that there is no separate, solid self that is separate from the totality. There is just the totality itself. See? So it's very, very different. It's very, very different.
Yeah, I see, but I understand the way you explain it, so thank you.
Thank you.
So it's good that you brought it up, because I can imagine this causes a lot of maybe we can discuss some about. There's an idea that I really like. It's the nowadays, like quantum physics, Buddhism, Christianity, what we are speaking about, oneness. Actually, everything seems to be colliding and realizing that there is this one, and that's just the nature of reality. Some call it, like quantum physics calls it, the nothingness or unlimited potential. So maybe we can discuss that, because I believe that there everything collides into what we're talking about right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I know in science they talk about the unified field, these ideas are starting to rise. The thing with science is that it will never be able to truly, it's trying to look for like the ultimate reality, but the problem is that it can never get outside of the totality to see or to measure the totality. The moment the totality is measured, then there is a distortion, and it's no longer the totality. So that's what the whole impossibility, the futility for the searcher or the seeker that feels separate, is that it cannot get to this mystery, because it is in the way. It is the very thing that is in the way, you could say. So only when it comes to an end is there then the totality, and there is a recognition that is not personal of the totality. And that's freedom, total freedom. Because the freedom is the sense of imprisonment is being in this sense of a separate self. Because then it feels completely cut off, isolated, a sense of lack, a sense of pressure because it's trying to control, a sense of time, feels like it's running out of time, never has enough time. It fears death. It is gripped by fear, gripped by constant restless desire for more and achieving more, getting more. It's never satisfied. It's like a hole. It's like a bucket with a hole in it. Every time you fill that bucket up, it's just leaking out again and again and again. And this is the experience that so many people have. They feel like something's constantly missing. And society has catered to that and tells you, no, you can get it here or you can get it there if you just achieve this, if you just do this, if you just do that, right? And so many people, they've become disillusioned with that. Probably most people here become disillusioned with that. And so then what happens is people go on a spiritual search. They go in towards spirituality or religion. But the issue with that is that there's still this sense of a seeker, of a searcher that's looking for something, and it cannot see the fact that it is everything. It's trying to pinpoint something specifically, and so it misses it.
Yes.
I understand it. That's nice, but give Jorrit the word first.
Jorrit, you're burning for a question. What is your
Yes.
question?
No, it's an addition, not a question, because we are all whole. We are all connected with each other. In some way, we are connected. That's the law of one. And you don't have to seek something because you already have it in you. Because when you look inward, introspection, that's what I've done. Maybe all my life, not all my life, but the last years were very intense to look inside, and then you find that you have it all in you, and then you can create or co-create, so you can be what you want to be. Is there anybody who understands what I'm saying right now, or I cannot point it to it? Christoph, maybe he can reply, or can maybe say something about this, what I mean. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. The only response that comes here from what's just been said is that the interesting thing is that the totality, of course, is not just within; it is all around. It is everything. So even this idea of one must look within at a specific place, maybe there is some. That seems to be the case. Maybe for the seeker, at some point, they are looking within and exposing this artificial sense of self. Where is this self? Where is this separate sense of self? Most beings feel like a separate self. It's like an assumed sense of self. But has anybody actually turned to look and see where that is? Does it really exist? And in seeing that, what can be seen is that actually the totality is everything, everywhere. And that when you say, where am I, or where is this self? If you cannot find it, then there is just everything everywhere.
Yes. Thank you. So let's pass it over to Brenda. Brenda has a question. Brenda, there's a button, a microphone button. If you press it, then you're able to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hello everybody.
Hello.
I found it a very interesting communication right now, because in my childhood I found out that my inner state of being was responsible for the outer, how the world would react on me. And but now my question is, I always believe that the universe is taking care of us, of me, of the whole one. And so within, without, so below as above. But is that also now illusion? Because I feel the less time now, my inner state of being is more quiet, and I can be very loud, but I'm searching for more quietness. I'm more alone. I'm more or less with people who are not, how do you say it? They're not nice. They are a little bit dark. They are jealous. So I leave the stage more and more to be with my inner self and with unconditional love. But is that normal? Am I in some kind of, how do you say that? Transformation? That's my question.
So yeah, there is this idea that what is taking place within is affecting what's going on outside, and it certainly can appear to be that way. A lot of that comes from the fact that the artificial self again, in some way still wants to change things. It has a big need to change reality to conform to what it wants, because it believes that if it can change what's going on around it, it will in some way feel better, or it will get more from it, or it will be able to attain something from it. And so this is really one of the illusions, is that in the totality there is nothing that is lacking. So that means there's nothing to gain and there's nothing to lose. But in the personal sense of self, in that experience, it feels like there's something to win and there's something to lose. And so often, a lot of what it tries to do is to change itself in order, hoping that it's going to change what's taking place around it. And in this recognition in liberation, that all of that kind of game of that comes to an end, because it's seen actually there is no one there to change that needs to change, and really nothing needs to change. Now this is a funny one, because of course the mind comes in, it's like, yeah, but what about what's going on with this and what's going on with that? And there's some other, there is the totality that is making everything happen. And somehow when this personal sense of self is no longer in the way, things can just flow. Not that someone is flowing, not that someone is going with the flow, there is just the flow. And in just the flow, everything happens just the way that it's the best way possible, you could say. But when the self is trying to get involved in thinking, I've got to do this, or I've got to become this, or I've got to change myself, or I've got to change others, or change life, it only stirs up, seems to stir up problems for itself, really, for that experience of being separate. And so it suffers. So in this recognition, this recognition that there is no self, that debases that whole game, that whole illusion. And things return back to the natural way of things. This is why I say that there's it's artificial versus natural. The artificial means that it's built on a misperception of within the story of mankind, through language, these ideas, these concepts, memory, knowledge, all of this starts to make a body operate in a more artificial way. And then there is a sense of identity that claims ownership for all of that, that artificial language, those thoughts, the knowledge. It says, this is my knowledge, this is who I am, I've got to use this knowledge, and I've got to do this and accomplish this and get that. So that's the whole dualistic game of it, you see. All that can come to an end. And then there is just a natural flow. How the trees grow, how the plants grow, effortlessly. Everything is effortless, easy.
Thank you.
Which turn is it now?
So Jorrit, please use the hand so I can see the right. Anne-Marie, you can turn on your mic.
Oh, hiya. Nice to meet you, Christopher. I've only seen you online up to now, so it's really interesting to hear you speak. I intellectually and logically understand what you're saying about the totality and how we're separate from that. But I don't actually feel it as I've really absorbed it. So how could I sort of move forward from just thinking and understanding it logically to being it or being one with it, if that makes any sense? If you can shed any light on that, that would help. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very common question, of course. the how question. How? Tell me how. Tell me how. And obviously with this, the thing with this is that how can the self get rid of itself?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
How can
Good
an
phrase.
illusion, how can an illusion get rid of an illusion? It's not possible. But if there is no self in the first place, then why would it need to be gotten rid of? What would need to be done to get rid of it, you see?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so somehow, maybe as we are discussing this, what can happen is that this is being exposed. So it's being highlighted, pointed out that the artificial self is really an illusion. That whole sense of a self is based on an actual illusion, which is that there is really no separate center, solid separate center there. Do you find a solid separate center there, you see? And where is that exactly? Can it be pinpointed exactly? You see that this is the assumption that most beings have. They've assumed, because society has obviously encouraged that, you are a separate person. But where exactly is that? Is it the body? Is it something deeper within? Most people, they have the sense that there is something, almost like it's something contained within the body. This is part of this sense of confinement that people have. It almost feels like the body is the border, is the boundary, and they are sort of trapped in a body. But really, this is based on a misperception. There's nothing in the body. It is hollow. If we were to open the body up, would we find a self there, you see? So maybe in seeing, maybe in like exposing that, the dream can fall away. But it's not something that is done. It's not an effort. It's not an action. Just like, again, like a dream, waking up from the dream. There's no effort to wake up from the dream apart from seeing that the dream is an illusion.
Right, yeah.
Then, boom, you wake up. Whereas if you're in the dream, you can do all kinds of things. You can stand on your head. You can run around in circles, right? But that all you're doing is dreaming of standing on your head and dreaming of running around in circles, which only reinforces and fortifies the dream. So you can do dream practices to try to get out of the dream, which only just reinforces the dream. So one must wake up, see what is false.
Okay, so by being constantly mindful, I guess, of the whole totality and that I am a one with it, I suppose that helps deepen that understanding, that development.
Well, it's not an understanding. Liberation is not a personal understanding. It's not something that you can intellectually arrive at an understanding. You even said it yourself. Well, I seem to understand, right? Yeah. It can't be understood, actually. It really cannot be understood, because how can you understand something that is, how can the finite mind or a concept possibly encapsulate the infinite?
Yeah,
it's not possible. See, it's a mystery. So somehow the self that's trying to understand must stop, must come to an end, and then what has always been there is very obvious. You see, what's really yearned for, there's a yearning, right? So it's like right now, there are people that are here on this call. They might be here for many different reasons. There are many reasons that a seeker has. Because the seeker has many desires. But deeper than that, there's a resonance, a yearning for this oneness, for this wholeness. And that resonance is what seems to move it, draw it towards us, you see. So there's a resonance, but it cannot be understood mentally, cannot be figured out. But there might be an openness to it, in which things begin to loosen up and a potential shift might happen.
So it's a feeling, isn't it? Just feeling it, I suppose. Rather, I am very prone to over-analysis, so I shall attempt to loosen that, let that go, and just feel.
Well, sorry.
Is that another trap?
It's not even a feeling either, because obviously feelings can come and go, right? Like there can be a feeling one moment, there's not a feeling the next moment. So we can't even say it is a feeling. What's really yearned for is what is instantly seeming to take place. And what's seeming to take place is everything. It's not something specific. It's not one feeling versus other feelings, or in opposition to other feelings. It's all feelings. It's all thoughts.
Yeah.
It's the sensation of sitting as well as standing. It's moving as well as being still. It's sound as well as silence. It's nature as well as a laptop, as well as a room, as well as an office building. It includes everything. It's all inclusive because it's one. So this means it can't be specifically found somewhere. And that is what the seeker is always trying to do. The artificial self, which is a seeker, it's a seeker because it feels separate and lacking, so it's trying to search for something, get something more. So it's an energy of constantly searching and seeking for something more. And what it's looking for is an image that it has. It's got an image of enlightenment or freedom or peace or joy. It's got these images, and it's trying to get to this image. But of course, any image is limited. Any image is just like an object. It objectifies the totality, and you can't objectify the totality. It's everything. So this very instant is actually what it is yearning for. Now, when I say this instant, I don't mean now, as if it is like a slice of time, because that is what now and the present is. Past, present, future, like it's a slice of time, and you've got to keep being present, and you've got to keep being here now, and you've got to be mindful constantly. No, that's not what's being said. What's being said is that this is immediately all that there is. The totality, all that is taking place, is all that there is. There's nothing outside of that. It's timeless. It's timeless. And that's what's yearned for. The timelessness. The timelessness of all that seems to be happening.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Good to speak with you.
Okay.
Thanks. So, Vincent.
Did you call my name?
Yeah, can you get a little closer to the mic?
Can you hear me?
No, the volume is very, very low.
Oh. Well, I'm at the highest point in my volume here.
Yes, this is better.
Okay. My question was, Chris, from day one, the sense of self, I've always just felt myself as Vincent.
Can you just speak up a little bit, Vincent? I can't quite hear you.
Oh, I am speaking loud.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Very, not that loud, but continue.
So what do I do to make it louder now? . 'Cause, 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 ' turn off microphone, but
We'll try to go as it is. If you carry on, and we'll see how we go.
okay. Because I've unmuted myself. Oh. Okay, as I was saying, you know.
I can still hear Anne-Marie. I'm sorry.
Yes, it should be fine. Vincent, if you can carry on with the question, your volume is okay. Just speak up and then.
Yeah, okay. As I was saying, that this sense of artificial self that you're talking about, you know, I've never felt it until I heard this word artificial. I never knew that there was such a thing as an artificial self. I knew there was a self all the while. But then when you know, I've said many times this artificial, now I'm introducing something new here for myself. And I'm just wondering that that naturally I've never felt myself to be artificial. On the contrary, I felt it to be very real. And so I'm just wondering, like, you know, one goes about living his life never thinking that the sense of self is artificial. So I feel it, I kind of find it a bit of an abstract idea, you know, when you say the sense of self is artificial. I mean, I don't mind entertaining it, but it doesn't seem to come naturally, though. The sense of self is artificial, and we're still separate, you know. Never felt any separation at all. Not that it's not there, but I've never felt it, you know, like I've just felt Vincent's sense of self, bingo, that's it. And then now all you guys come and say it's artificial, it's separate, it's non-existent, you know, so all introducing a whole load of new ideas that I have to entertain. You know, they're more like ideas to me rather than the truth.
So what you're saying, I mean, we've had many conversations, Vincent.
Yes.
So what you would seem to be saying then is that there is oneness there. So that you're saying that there is the sense of oneness. There is no sense of separation there. And so there is no sense of lack.
Yeah, I know.
And so that would mean there's no fear, no suffering. That's what you're saying.
No. I'm just saying that as a sense, I only know myself to be a sense of self. You know, that does the suffering and all I feel comes from wrong thinking, you know, misperception and wrong thinking. So, you know, the way my mind thinks is that if I think correctly, then I won't suffer, you know.
No, the sense of self is not just based on thinking. That's why we say sense of self. It's an energetic feeling of separation. So even if someone thinks someone thinks positive thoughts, there's still that sense of separation there. Even someone that's thinking positive still has a sense of separation. So this is not just in ideas. This is not how someone is thinking. It goes deeper than that. There's an actual visceral sense of feeling separate, of feeling like a confined energy that's localized in a body. And so what the artificial self points to, that term artificial self, is just really to say that the whole sense of self, or what people call self, is really an artificial construct that's not original to the totality, which is natural. The totality is natural. But the self, and what you're saying there is obviously what is mostly experienced by most people, is they feel like they have a sense of self, and they've never questioned that. They've never questioned it. They've never looked to see, what is this self? What am I calling myself? What is that? There's an assumption of what it is. For most people, what it is, it's a whole bunch of things. It's their body, it's their personality, it's their life circumstance, it's their likes and dislikes, their fears, their hopes, their desires, their dreams. All of this makes this sense of self that they have. But what's being said is that all of that is artificial. It's a dream. It's a dream, and it's based on a misperception. There's nothing right or wrong with this, by the way. This is not being said that this is right or wrong. It's not about good or bad, right or wrong. There's nothing right or wrong with that bubble of experience based on an illusion. It's just being pointed out that it's an illusion. It's just being pointed out that actually there is no solid separate center there that somebody would call themselves.
So the totality doesn't recognize this illusion. That means for the totality, this sense of self doesn't exist.
There is no real solid separate self in existence at all. But there seems to be a sense of self. And many people report a sense of self. So they have an experience of being a self that is lacking something separate, moving in time, that is making personal decisions and personal actions. There's a sense of that, but what's being said is that's all built on an illusion. There is really no self or solid separate center there. Really, there is just hollowness, emptiness, nothingness. That is also, which is also the form, which is also the totality, which is also everything.
So can I say that I'm just an animation?
Can you say that you're just an animation?
Yeah, animation
when you say you, what do you mean by you?
What I'm saying is all whatever I'm doing in my daily life, it's all just an animation of the totality.
But what's being said is that there is really no self there at all. So you could say you can say, oh, I'm an animation, but then you're pointing to an illusion.
Also, even an animation is an illusion.
Well, a self or a you is an illusion. That's what's being said. But there can be a sense or an experience that there is a separate self or you there. And so when we're looking at this, highlighting this, what can happen is that can start to loosen up as it is seen to be false. And there can be almost like ice melting back into water. So ice is just water in a more condensed state. And it can melt back into the water, so to speak, where really it has always just been the water.
So if there's no sense of self, that means it's just the totality that's living itself in whatever I'm doing.
There is only the totality. And the totality is all that is taking place, that seems to be taking place as a body, as a laptop, as the sky, as the sun, as a sensation, as a smell, as a thought, as a feeling. It's all the totality.
So even the person that I think I am is the totality that is giving rise to this feeling.
The thought is totality, but there is no person. There is no actual person. So that thought is based on an illusion. But the thought itself is the totality. But what the thought believes is based on an illusion.
Oh, so the thought thinks it's a person, that's an illusion, right?
The thought that there is an actual separate person, the thought itself is the totality, but what it's believing is based on an illusion. There is no separate person there.
So the content of thought is an illusion then. Thought itself is totality, as you said, but then its content is an illusion.
Yes, what the meaning of thought, what thought is trying to describe, it can never truly describe. It can never truly describe this. It can never describe the totality. It's a complete mystery. So everyone is just in society, everyone is just making up and conspiring with each other to agree that certain things mean certain things. For functioning purposes, it's just to be able to function. Right? People need to use the English language to agree to be able to do certain things. And they say, oh, look, that's a car, that's a table, that's a pen. But the word pen is not the so-called pen. That pen is just the totality appearing as a pen. The car is just a totality appearing as a car.
So when you say thought is a totality, what are you trying to tell me actually? When you say thought is a totality, what am I here to understand?
Say that again.
You say the thought itself is just the totality.
Yeah.
Right? So what am I trying to understand here when you say that thought is a totality?
Well, that's what's being...
Totality I understand, as it say, the energy, but now when you describe the totality, that saying that thought is totality, I don't really, yes.
Well, that's what's being said. There's nothing to understand.
I see.
It's not an understanding. This is not an understanding. You're not going to arrive at like, oh, I've got the answer. And then that answer is the totality. Impossible.
So the thoughts that are taking place is totality then?
The thoughts that seem to be taking place are also the totality.
Okay.
But what the thoughts are trying to capture and say it is this or is that, it cannot do that. It's always going to be false. So the totality cannot be figured out. It cannot be understood. There's an impersonal recognition. An impersonal recognition that there is no separation. There is no solid center or self. There is no lack. There is no time. There is no personal control or doership.
So the thought that thinks that Vincent is doing the thinking, that's an illusion, right?
Yeah, because there is no Vincent, as there is no Christopher. That's just a word. It's a word that's taken to label that particular body, and then everybody agrees that that body is called Vincent. But there is really no Vincent, because what Vincent ties to for most people, or what their name ties to, is a separate sense of self. And of course, what's being said here is that there is no separate sense of self. It's an illusion.
Okay. Thank you.
Cheers, Vincent.
Great. So we have a few minutes left. I see Ton has a question. Let's get Ton on the call. So you can turn on the mic.
Hello, Christopher.
Hey, Tom.
I think you have a interesting story. So I think I understand. But my question is about the ego. Isn't the ego the disturbing factor in this one? In this what you're telling? That people get disturbed by the ego for understanding what you're saying.
Yeah. The ego is just another term. The ego is a Latin word which means I.
Yeah.
So it's pointing to the same, what we've just been talking about. So when I say artificial self or me or I, they all mean the same thing, same as ego. They're all pointing to the same. It's a different way of saying the same thing. It's a separate sense of identity. So yeah, as this is being spoken about and highlighted, the sense of I can start to feel threatened.
Yeah.
Because it wants to obviously protect itself and maintain its sense of identity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's afraid, it becomes afraid. So it goes into defensive mode sometimes. Yeah. That can happen.
Yeah, I see.
And what can
Understood.
also happen is that even in these kinds of meetings is that that sense of I can, if it becomes frustrated or it doesn't like being exposed like that, it will try to solidify and strengthen itself even further.
Yeah.
That can also happen.
Yeah.
Or what can happen is that there is an openness and there is a deeper resonance where that true yearning is coming from to be open to freedom.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Please, if you have a question, that's okay, but no additional information is needed right now. So there's one more hand that has been risen. Let's make this the last question and then round up. Is that okay? So Anne-Marie.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
It's a really practical question. I just wondered how often you have this kind of discussion and where I could find it and join in.
Yeah. So there are some meetings that take place every week. So if you go to the Christopher J. Smith website at the events and meetings page, that has the information of the next up and coming meetings. Also, we are doing these oneness gatherings. I think every month at least we're doing these oneness gatherings as well. And there's a retreat next year, a 7-day retreat in the Netherlands, where we'll be going in a more intensive and longer, thorough way into this this topic, if you will.
Okay, great. So sorry, what's the website? christopherj.co.uk?
ChristopherJSmith.com.
Smith.com. Right, thank you very much. I'll have a look there. Lovely, thank you.
Good chatting with you, Anne. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Great. So let's close down the Q&A or the discussion section. And I'll leave it open to whatever comes.
And so all there really is to say is that that this, again, the totality, which is all that seems to be taking place this very instant, is truly what is yearned for. It's not in some location. It's not a particular state or a change in state. It's not arriving at a particular special piece of knowledge. It's not a special exotic experience. It is the simplicity, the instantaneous nature of all that is, all that seems to be taking place. Good to be with everyone.
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Christopher. Thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for the questions, the additional information. Yeah, thank you all for being here. And I hope you feel the power and revelations that lie here in doing this investigation, this work you may see, in having a massive improvement in the human experience we seem to be having. So in our next online Oneness gathering, that will be in a month from now. The exact date will be shared later. You can receive information by email or by socials, and for people that are within my private community platform, Huddle, you can check the event calendar and will receive an invitation. The most powerful event to look forward to is the Oneness retreat that will be held in the Netherlands in a place called Nederweert. It will be on February 23rd till March 1st. And this will be a 7-day immersion, not just in this type of information, but also in the collective energy, free from all distractions that hold up this veil of an illusion. So this will be an opportunity to make great shifts in your perception, energy, and may some self-realizations happen. So more information about this will follow soon. You can contact me if you feel you want to be there. Thanks for joining today. I hope you enjoy it, and I wish you a great Sunday afternoon. Thanks.
Cheers, everyone. Good to see everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Take care.
Take care.